guys, and welcome to a sort of part 2 to my last video on the Hearts Ledger, my new comic concept. I was going to make this video eventually, but thanks to a certain Truth or Dare poll, I got dared into talking more about our girls, Llewellyn and the innkeeper's daughter, Mira. So here we are. What have I been doing for the past 6+ months since that last video, and how much progress have I actually made? Well, I've been drafting, and I'm still drafting the first episode of the comic, and I've written over 50 pages of the story proper. So in this video, let's dive into some of my favorite scenes I've worked on, talk about character changes, explore some world lore, and look at the new additions to the story. Starting off with some changes to one of our leading ladies, Llewellyn. You might notice she's now missing a digit. Yep, her left pinky is gone. I figured, considering the kind of lifestyle she leads and the rough company she keeps, losing a finger would make sense. It's a detail that adds a layer of realism and danger to her character, but the story behind it is a little gruesome, so bear with me. When Llewellyn was younger, she was taken in by a band of thieves, a found family of sorts, but one with very harsh rules. Over time, she rose through the ranks, going from a purse snatcher to helping lead full-on raids. But on one job, she refused a direct order from the group's leader. Outraged, he dragged her into the center of the camp and made an example out of her. He wanted to take her whole hand for disobedience, but ultimately settled for her pinky. She was held down, and he cut it off in front of everyone. A brutal punishment meant to keep the others in line. It was meant to break her, but instead it hardened her. She learned how to fight just fine without it, and while it doesn't slow her down, it does make her a little bit more identifiable, and it also ties into the real-world medieval punishments for insubordination and thievery. And let's be honest, those times were ruthless. Now let's talk about our other leading lady, Mira. Mira's your typical medieval girl. She lives a well-off life at the inn, but I thought it would be fun to give her a running gag, which is constantly turning down marriage proposals. Boys from town, traveling merchants, even moms trying to pawn off their sons, and she always refuses. Partly because she's not interested, but mostly because they only want her for her status and coin. Owning an inn in a busy trading town? That's good money. And she's tired of it, honestly, and practically announces to everyone that she has zero interest in marrying anyone. Little does she know, am I right? As for some scenes I've been drafting, one of my favorites is their first outing from the inn. Chef sends them to fetch some produce at the market and tells Mira she should buy Llewellyn a treat afterwards. Classic matchmaker move. Good on him. Mira is a little confused because they have plenty of produce in the cellar, but she goes anyway and gives Llewellyn a proper tour. Up until this point, Llewellyn hasn't even left the inn since arriving to town. So on the walk, Mira casually asks what she used to do before, well, everything, and Llewellyn lies and says she was a mercenary. Mira doesn't pry because that's Llewellyn's business, and they carry on through to the market. Mira points out landmarks, haggles with vendors, and answers Llewellyn's questions like, how do you tell a good potato from a bad one? There's this quiet sense of wonder from Llewellyn, the bustle, the smells, the people, and Mira definitely picks up on it. At the bakery, Mira buys her a medieval cheesecake, a sambocade. Yes, I've been doing research just enough to know things like how to make mead. That's a whole other thing. Oh god. And as Llewellyn eats the sambocade, you could call this the first moment Mira thinks of Llewellyn as cute. Of course, this wouldn't be a proper GL comic without at least one bathhouse scene. But hear me out before you roll your eyes, okay? Hear me out, okay? Hear me out. Now, before anyone cries, historical inaccuracy, I'll have you know, I've done the research. Medieval bathhouses did exist. Communal, gender, segregated, and often quite fancy, depending on the town. So no stinky peasants here, unless they live way out in the sticks, but even then, they had streams and wells. Hygiene existed, folks, and I'm just being historically accurate. Let me have my moment. That said, this isn't your typical spicy fan service scene. It's quiet, introspective, and a rare moment where the girls can relax, breathe, and just be. Can you tell that I'm hyped up on like 5 coffees? Yes, they've been rooming together for a while, but this is different. It's the kind of vulnerability you can't fake. Warm water, steam rising, hair unbound, guard down. That rhymed. Mira gets to see a new side of Llewellyn here, and Llewellyn, maybe without realizing it, lets her. Llewellyn has many scars across her back and body, as a quiet reminder to how different her life has been compared to Mira's. Where Mira might have an odd scar or two from like a cooking mishap, or maybe hitting her finger with a hammer during inn upkeep, Llewellyn bears the marks of a life forged in violence. Those scars aren't included for fan service. If this moment makes it into the comic, it'll be handled with care. Mira does notice the scars, but she doesn't really say anything. Even if she were about to, her attention is quickly stolen by a group of older women trying to set her up with their sons, much to her irritation. For Llewellyn, this is her first experience with a bathhouse. She's used to cold streams or still ponds, so she is a bit overwhelmed, stiff, and anxious, barely acknowledging Mira's gaze. She doesn't make eye contact, doesn't know where to look honestly, and certainly isn't relaxed. It's very awkward, unfamiliar, and very human. Llewellyn doesn't say much, but she does watch. She listens as Mira gracefully, if a little impatiently, fends off a group of older women trying to marry her off to one of their sons. It's all foreign to Llewellyn. It's kind of like a social dance, the confidence, the calm. She studies Mira's every word. But then the women turn to her. And what about you, dear? Are you spoken for? The sudden shift in attention kind of knocks the wind out of her. Llewellyn, still tense and out of place in this warm, echoing bathhouse, stammers out a quick no. Mira glances over. Then there's a pause, a small one. But as soon as Llewellyn admits she's single, the older women pounce on her. Excited chatter, suggestive nudges, and a few too many comments about strong arms and a good match. Llewellyn freezes. Her expression doesn't change much, but Mira sees it. The way her shoulders tighten, how she glances towards the door like it's her only escape route, that's enough. So Mira steps in with a sharp but polite, all right, that's enough matchmaking for one day. You're scaring her off, ladies. She gently steers Llewellyn away, offering a towel and an apologetic smile, and with that, they slip out of the bathhouse, the warm steam giving way to the cooler night air as they make their way back to the inn, quietly, side by side, probably making fun of the older women. Like I said, it's a nice scene that gives some character development and not fan service material, but it's unlikely it will ever be in the actual comic depending on guidelines and if I'm comfortable with this kind of portrayal. As for side characters, has been the recent addition of Maeve, the baker's apprentice. She will have a bubbly personality to get those two out of their shells and bring some much needed light to all their brooding. And then there's Peter. Oh, Peter. Peter represents the kind of social pressure that was unfortunately common in medieval times, especially for women with status or wealth. He's not written as a caricature of men, but rather as a way to express how Mira navigates those kinds of expectations. Contrast him with Chef, who's more like an uncle figure, grounded, respectful, and protective. But let's be real, many GL mediums or stories do have a caricature of men in them, and I want to stray a little bit away from that and have a balance between bad and good, give and take. So characters like Maeve, Peter, and the Old Town women exist not just for world flavor, they help bring out new sides of Mira and Llewellyn through contrast, comedy, and tension, and hopefully help develop the story a little bit more than just them talking over a cup of tea at the end of every shift. So yeah, that's where I'm at with the Heart's Ledger. New characters, world building updates, bathhouse trauma, the essentials. I'm still deep in the draft process, and I mean deep, but hopefully the next time I talk about it, I'll have some finished pages to show off. But thanks for sticking around and letting me ramble about my medieval GL soap opera. As always, feel free to leave thoughts, questions, or spicy character theories in the comments. I read them all. And until next time, drink mead, respect your innkeeper, and please, for the love of God, don't cut off people's fingers.